Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you are well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more Reddit stories, and if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider hitting that like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too, and let's crack on with today's first story. Much love, guys. Now today's first story, it comes from the user Hey It's Charles 1296 from the Am I the Arsehole Here subreddit, and it says, am I the arsehole here for accidentally causing an old, closed account to show up on my partner's credit report during an apartment application? My partner, female, is currently in the process of applying for an apartment with her mum and a mutual friend. They do not live with me, and I'm not a part of this application. However, during their background and credit checks, an issue popped up on my partner's credit report regarding an old credit card account that she didn't recognize. She immediately panicked, accused me of lying, hiding things from her, and maliciously trying to ruin her credit and her chances of getting this apartment. 4 years ago, I had a credit card in my name, using my social security number and my information. At the time, we shared an address, and I added her as an authorized user. The card was open for less than a year before it was closed with no past due to balance owed, and was closed due to inactivity. Because we used to share an address and she was an authorized user, an automated credit bureau matching system associated the close history with her profile during this new application. I completely forgot this card even existed because it has been closed for years and has no debt on it. I was able to get my apartment with no issue and it never came up. It was a clumsy, careless oversight on my part forgetting that I'd gotten that card then. It was absolutely not malicious, fraud, or an attempt to hide anything, and after hours on the phone with reps and credit companies, I went back to her and told her everything and apologized profusely for both pushing back and for the mistake. The moment she confronted me, I at first pushed back and said I never opened a card in her name and didn't have one then because I just forgot I'd opened one back then. I spent hours on the phone with the credit bureaus in the company, figuring out exactly what happened. I found the solution, confirmed that it was an administrative matching mistake because of the old shared address, and found out exactly how it can be adjusted and removed immediately so it won't affect their application. Her social was never even given, they just required her name, address, and birthday. I gave her all the details, admitted the stupid mistake of forgetting the card, and gave her the exact steps to get it cleared up. According to both credit card issuer and Credit Karma, it could immediately be fixed and removed from her credit history. Despite me owning the mistake, doing the legwork to find the solution, and offering to handle whatever I can, she didn't care. She called me a liar, said she didn't believe me, said if she couldn't get the apartment she would send me to jail, said for me to stop talking to her, said she hates me multiple times, and told me to never contact her again and leave her alone. I sent one final text validating her right to be angry, explaining the facts one last time, reiterating the solution to fix it for her apartment, and promising to respect her boundary and leave her alone. I'm now sitting alone feeling completely demolished. I made a genuine, stupid mistake by forgetting a closed card from years ago that shouldn't in any way affect credit, but I worked to fix it the second everything was figured out. As always in many of these situations, what stands out to me isn't the mistake. It's her reaction, because it sounds like OP made a genuine mistake. Adding someone as an authorized user isn't identity theft. The account wasn't opened in her name, there was no debt, and as soon as he realized what had happened, he spent hours figuring out how it happened and tried to get it corrected, even giving her the information to fix it. But her reaction to this, threatening to send him to jail, repeatedly saying she hates him, and refusing to believe anything even though he gave her an explanation, tried to help her fix it. So for me, her reaction to this is just absolutely wild. I get the initial panic because I can imagine applying for an apartment and suddenly seeing a financial account you don't recognize on your credit report. Most people would be thinking identity theft or a scary situation like that. But if you went up to OP, explained this can be fixed quite easily, all we need to do is X, Y, and Z, then what's the bloody issue? Why go on the attack like that? The commenter says to OP, is this someone you want to continue to date? How bad is her credit that a closed card from years ago is such a big deal? Not the arsehole, please date someone with better emotional regulation and check your credit. This sounds like the freak out of someone who's done something bad but has gone on an attack to avoid taking any responsibility. Ooh, interesting. Commenter replied to that saying, I had a credit card I never used closed for inactivity. Do you know what the hit was to my credit report? It went down 3 points for 1 month for closing a $15,000 credit line. The credit card isn't the problem, not the arsehole. A commenter says to OP, sounds like you dodged a ballistic missile. Be free. Commenter replies to that saying exactly. Unless we're missing a huge piece of the story. This wasn't some reckless mistake on OP's part. Jumping straight to accusing you of lying, trying to ruin her life, threatening jail, and saying she hates you is wildly disproportionate response. The fact that you apologized repeatedly, spent hours fixing it, and now wrote this post defending yourself makes me wonder if you got used to managing her reactions and keeping the peace as if it's your job. Not the arsehole. OP replies saying, we had a lot of issues in the past on both of our ends with emotional regulating and not communicating. We were together from 2021 to 2024, broke up and she moved away, but reconnected in late 2024. We've been working on rebuilding our relationship since January this year, and despite a few hiccups, we've been better now than we were then. Now this comes along and it's a forest fire. A commenter says your partner sounds like a reactive hot mess. There was literally no problem here, let alone one that she needed to go apeshit about. A name showed up on something, there was no debt attached. Nothing was flagged, account closed. I failed even to see the problem. Anything, you should find yourself someone better and stop being her doormat. A commenter says, if the account is closed, then it didn't have a bad history. What's the issue here? It's not going to negatively affect her credit rating at all. But if it has a shitty payment history, you're a shithead. OP says according to the credit card company, the credit was used twice initially, paid off and went unused for 8 months before they deactivated it due to inactivity. It was open for less than a year. So OP comes in with her update and says, I wanted to give a quick update since my last post. She finally broke her silence today by texting me a massive wall of text telling me she hates me, that I should be ashamed of myself as a person, that she hopes no one ever gives me a chance again, that my silence is proof of me lying, and that she was officially rejected from the apartment because of her credit. Along with the text, she sent a picture of a piece of mail that seemingly thinks is the proof that I ruined her life. Well, I looked at the picture she sent, and it doesn't prove a single thing. The paperwork she is holding isn't an account statement, a delinquency notice, or a collections letter. It is a standard, mass automated corporate disclosure letter titled Amended Account Terms. The back page is literally a generic promotional advertisement envelope trying to get people to sign up for a student cashback card. The front page is just a routine legal notice detailing generic updates to bank-in formulas that don't even go into effect until January 2027. There is no account number, no personal details, no balance, and zero debt listed anywhere on it. To me, it looks like junk mail. The paper also states that it's from Discover Capital One. The only cards I've ever had and have any paper trails from are from Capital One directly, not Discover, and no Discover insignias anywhere. I don't know if that's relevant or not. I looked up online to see if an authorized user would get a piece of mail like this, and found that they do. The reality is that the old account, again under all my information, and which was just as an authorized user on, was completely closed and paid off with zero balance back in 2023. As many of you pointed out in my last thread, a closed, paid off account from 3 years ago isn't tanking anyone's credit score or causing an apartment rejection today. I also know that she currently has unpaid retail store credit card from 2024 and an outstanding medical and therapy bills that she never paid off. That recent history of non-payment alongside whatever else they found has me thinking that this is what the tenant screening algorithms flagged, not a ghost from a paid off closed account in 2023. She completely misread a piece of routine junk mail because she was in a panic over the rejection and desperately needed a scapegoat so she didn't have to face her own choices. I took the advice here and sent a single firm factual text message laying out exactly what the paper actually is, reminding her of the 2023 timeline and letting her know that taking her anger out on me won't change the leasing officer's decision. I told her I'm going silent because she has made up her mind to treat me like a villain and nothing I say will matter right now. I could block her, but since she threatened me with trying to send me to jail, I figured a paper trail showcasing her abuse towards me and what I said back would be the best route to go. In a weird way, hearing her say that she hates me and that she hopes no one gives me a chance is almost cathartic. Like, I don't have to try for her anymore. For 5 years, I've tried to make things work. Be patient, change aspects of myself, tell myself she's just in a spiral, stay patient, and she'll realize that it's not the end of the world. She doesn't mean what she says. But now that she's gone this route, I can just be. Keep the good things I changed about myself and let the rest fall off. She wasn't like this when we first got together. Her mother is crazy, and when she would go visit her, she would come back with all these accusations and demands and shit. Now that she is living with her, I can only think that her mother's influence has only worsened things within her own mind. It's gonna take some time to get used to the no contact silence and not having a constant presence in my life. But I'd rather the silence over being told I'm a liar, that I don't care, that I don't love her enough, and being made to feel like I'm the worst kind of person when I'm trying my hardest to do what I think is right. Small update. She responded to my final message and mentioned she was also rejected due to low income for the apartment, so it wasn't even fully a credit. And an update on the update. I've taken everyone's advice and put her on mute. So any further communications won't be immediate. Keeping on mute just means I can keep a trail of documents in case she tries to push any sort of legal thing, which from my understanding she has no grounds for. But knowing her mother, she might be pushed into it. I've stated facts, called her out for her own handling of this, pointed out things she herself said with them rejecting her due to low income as well as her current credit profile, and left it at that. How she goes forward and whether she tries to come back once or if she realizes that had nothing to do with her current situation will be a later problem. I know some people have said that they don't understand how I could have put up with this sort of explosive emotions from her for years, and the only excuse I have is simply this: I loved her. I thought love was sticking by a person, being there for them, showcasing them patience, forgiving them for mistakes, acceptance, and that ultimately that will break through and get them to see the error of their ways when they fly off the handle. I still believe in love, but not a one-sided type where only one person says they messed up and tries to change, while the other gets to fly off the handle whenever they want and know they will be forgiven. So in the end, she was rejected for her own doing, but convinced herself that Opie somehow maliciously ruined her credit, then was threatening him with jail and all this bullshit. Absolute bullet dodged in this situation. Whether it's her mother's influence or not, you don't need to be a part of it. I like what Opie said towards the end there, that I still believe in love, but not a one-sided type. But what do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below, and let's move on to another story. Our next story comes from Red Baby Panda from the Relationship Advice subreddit. Has a couple of updates to it and says, boyfriend 32 male decided to raise my portion of the rent on me, 24 female, during a disagreement. I make less than him and work more days than he does. Together about 7.5 months. Hi, this sucks. I really do love my boyfriend, but he is set in his ways. I've made many compromises to be with him. We live in a city where he's grown up. All of his friends and his entire family lives here. My entire family and most of my friends live about 2,000 miles away. For a little background, I met him around January, and I was literally just passing through, thinking of moving here, but he really wanted me to stay, so he offered me a pretty good deal to stay with him and pay a small portion of his rent. Our rent is about $900 a month, cheap for where we live, but he was swinging that easily before I came along. I pay $300 a month here. I know that is obviously way less than his $600 portion, but when we were starting out, I had not yet found a job in this city. I now have one and we split all other bills 50-50. Not only do I have one job, I have two. I also work for the bar he works at to help make ends meet. It is really stressful to work 12 till 9 PM for 5 days straight and then on my 2 days off work for his bar. I honestly cannot handle it. I've told him this, but when I do, he basically says I'm lazy / have no work ethic or have obviously never had a real job. He insults me in this way a lot while he sits at home for 4 days out of his week. Yes, he gets 4 days off because his job is similar to that of a bartender. For the sake of his anonymity, let's just say he is a bartender. He makes a lot in a short amount of time on his weekends. He does work hard. He doesn't have an easy job for the most part, but his laziness is amazing. He bitches that our house isn't clean as if I have time or the gumption left over after 2 jobs. On top of that, he's starting his own business and I'm helping him with that anytime I can. Today we got in a huge fight about how I'm doing work for the bar. I expressed that I can't handle that as a side job. It is too much for me and we really don't need to work together because it's bad for our relationship. He said, oh well, the rent is now $450. I'm not against paying more rent, but I said percentage-wise it didn't make sense and he will have to do 50% of the chores. He got pissy and said fuck percentages. He was smart enough to get a job that paid more. He gets crazy and controlling like this sometimes and there is no reasoning with him. Where he used to be flexible, now he is not. He then said that I could just find another place to live. And I said okay, because when I first moved in, fucking way too soon in our knowing each other, he said he wouldn't be offended if I found a place on my own and moved out, which I stupidly thought was still the deal, and then screamed at me that if I leave, we are done. Might be good for me actually. I guess what I'm really wondering here is anyone need a roommate in Portland? Opie did add a TLDR that came with her update and said, Woman realizes halfway through post that she needs an exit strategy rather than relationship advice. There was just a whole load of fucking red flags in this situation, wasn't there? Him being 32, OP 24, moving in almost immediately and leaving her support system 2,000 miles away, working 2 jobs, including one at his workplace as well, helping with his business, splitting the bills 50-50, and then has the nerve to call her lazy because the house isn't spotless while he has 4 days off a week, and then saying stuff like quoting, "Oh well, your rent is now $450. That's not how rent works. It's not a punishment you can increase because your partner disagreed with you. He's using it as leverage. And you can see more control coming into this, because when OP was thinking of leaving, him saying you can find somewhere else to live, and OP going, yeah, okay. And then him coming in with, if you leave, we're done. Basically, he didn't want her to leave. He just wanted her to back down. It was all about power. So it was a relief to see OP's TLDR at the end saying that they need an exit strategy, because they absolutely do. And many of the commenters were just reacting to that TLDR, agreeing with her, saying yes, get out of there as soon as you can. But OP came in with their first update and said, hi, this took fucking forever. 3 whole months because I kept talking myself out of leaving. During this time I avoided updating because I think I knew deep down how fucking stupid I was being afraid to leave while super unhappy. We had moments where I saw a glimmer of hope for us, but no, I should have left when I made that post. In that time I was also communicating to him that I didn't like our lifestyle. A few weeks ago he snooped in my Facebook. We have both done this toxic behavior. I'm not claiming to be innocent here, and saw that I had contacted my mum for advice about leaving. He was extremely mad and said he had no idea I was unhappy. This guy who threw a fit every time I got a haircut. I work at a salon, so that's pretty silly of an expectation in my opinion, and who I had weekly battles with, who refused to let me ever feed our cat because he wanted to be the one the cat liked more, or some weird bullshit. He neglected the fuck out of me for about 3 weeks playing WoW more than ever, barely spending any time with me. One night I went out to a concert while he was at work and met some friends, had a few drinks, nothing huge. Really I just wanted time to myself as I kept working with him and had zero alone time or quality time with him. The tension was growing, and that particular night I got home late, maybe about 1 AM. Late for me, but I took public transportation. My phone died before I got home, and I texted him when it was on 5% or so and said, hey, please don't worry about me, I'll be home soon. I'm okay, my phone is just dying, have a great night at work, etc. Usually got off around 3 AM anyway. As I'm drifting to sleep around 2 AM, I text him a quick, home safe, good night type text. I wake up to him shaking and screaming at me around 2:45 AM, questioning where I was all night, who I was with, accusing me of lying and yelling that I couldn't get my story straight. That's true. I was in a deep sleep and had to work the next day around 11:30 AM. We had a huge blowout fight, enough to make our neighbors hate us. He threw a basket of my clothes in the floor and told me to get out while smashing my expensive makeup pro palettes against the bathroom tiles. Let me clarify. I'm an aspiring artist who does weddings on the side of my regular job. It would be similar to me throwing his work mics on the floor and damaging them. This really upset me, and I pushed him away from me and I said, I pay rent too. How are you mad at me right now and breaking my things? He claimed he was worried about my safety all night, but I highly doubt that when he was claiming he would throw me in the street that night despite the fact that we were splitting rent 50-50, even though I barely had anything in our space. I freak out because, hey, I just learned I'm homeless because in his words, fuck you, you aren't on the lease, you fucking see you next Tuesday. I wasn't nice either. I was fucking angry for getting woken up on a night before work when I was already pushing my bedtime. I also hurled insults. I got very worried about my new lack of housing, a threat that in my sleepy, very distraught head was legitimate. I did a very embarrassing thing. I posted on my Facebook something to the effect of, I'm being kicked out and I need help. This person said they loved me and we split rent, yet I'm about to seriously need a place to stay. We sleep for 2 hours, our house is wrecked from us throwing each other shit around and there are bruises on both of us from pushing each other, and I slapped him. Yes, I was violent, something I have never done with anyone. There is zero excuse for it. I was enraged that I had just paid 2 months rent and was going to be homeless, and he was screaming at me and breaking my things. The exhaustion and all of that is still not an excuse. I'm really ashamed of it, but the bruises were mainly me falling down after I slipped on some clothes I was trying to keep him from destroying. I showed up to work looking like total shit, having had only an hour or two of sleep. My coworkers are like, what the fuck? You okay? I can barely keep it together for the 3 hours I was there, all while he was texting me and is going to throw all my belongings outside. He and his sister are going to make a great free pile of everything I own. I explained to my manager that things are not okay at home and I need to leave. She is so understanding and allows me to leave. I take a lift straight home and his ass is asleep. He said all that shit just to fuck with me. I'm furious and refuse to let him sleep as he refused to let me sleep before work. He swears he never intended on actually kicking me out and starts crying that I've ruined his reputation with my post. I agreed that my post was embarrassing for both of us, that I need a place to live. He thought I would have changed my mind and stayed after all that shit, and I said no, I'm definitely leaving. I have to. There is no way we can live together and I hate who I became in our relationship. I'd paid October rent, so I said my things need to stay here and be respected as I have paid rent and won't even be staying here. An amazing mutual friend saw my frantic and very embarrassing post. She needed a dog sitter while she was out of town and I graciously accepted the offer. Her apartment is amazing and she's letting me stay here for free, even hooking me up with extra work opportunities after I had to quit the job where I worked with him, with 2 weeks and a promise of a positive reference from my boss. I had about 2 horrible, debilitating days of anxiety where I thought I was going to be fired after the day at work and thinking I was such a mess and I couldn't go on. I now feel way better, super relieved, actually now have officially ended it and gotten away from him. It's been civil over text a few times we needed to talk about work things while I was finishing up my 2 weeks, and also reminded him to flea treat the cat today, as I still care about our cat that I will never see again. I have another week of house sitting and a lot of options for where to live next, as I've been saving money like crazy for a deposit and spending only on food and transportation to my jobs. One spot looks super promising and I'm very hopeful. So then some point later, Opie comes in with a final update and says, so in case anyone is still following this story, I thought I'd update you all on the final outcome, so to speak. When I left off last time, I was house and pet sitting for a few people, still working at the receptionist job I didn't like or make much at. Pretty much homeless, searching for a place to live, and being a nervous wreck. Luckily, a friend of a friend needed a roommate in SE. Pretty far away from my jobs, but a really nice area and cheap, with nice ladies around my age as roommates. I jumped at the opportunity and moved in a little before Halloween. I had a lot of money saved up from working so many jobs. I knew I'd need to save every penny, and since my rent is so cheap, I got all new stuff in my room since I had to leave a lot behind. I also very conveniently landed a better job on this side of town thanks to Reddit. I found the posting in a Portland job thread, and it's a full-time position where I make more money doing something I actually feel fulfilled doing. This job wouldn't ever have worked out if I was with my ex because it wouldn't have fit his schedule. Turns out I'm content working 9 to 5ish and getting up early and having evenings to relax. I feel all around way better. We had one more blowout about a week after my last post when he refused to give back any of my rent. And threw away all my remaining things into garbage bags. Of course, it happened on the morning when he knew I had to work. I wasn't allowed to bring anyone to help me pack, but his sister was there to witness our fight, so I guess his stupid rules only applied to me. I was beyond pissed when he also didn't give me back a bunch of my furniture. I know it'd probably be that way, but I was so exhausted from shuffling around and trying to get my stuff together, I couldn't even argue anymore. He made sure to laugh in my face and let me know he had a new, way more loving relationship. This was about 2 weeks after I moved out. Okay, dude. A few days ago, after we've been no contact for almost a month, he says, I have some mail I need to come pick up. So I arrive at my old apartment / his place to get it, and it makes me really sad, just to see my cat for the last time, to see where we spent a lot of time together, some of which was happy. He didn't say sorry, but he wasn't an arsehole, and he gave back a little ottoman I really liked that was mine, and offered to take me to my new place. I was really shocked by the gesture and said thanks. I guess the time and space has sort of made him less angry about it. I still feel pretty disrespected, but I really appreciated the ride, even if he technically owes me $400+. I know he will never admit that or say sorry. He was also a nickel and dimer, so why would he change now that we're not even together? As for what I'm doing now, focusing on work, so much. I enjoy my work, but it's a challenging field, and I'm learning a lot and getting used to a totally new schedule and lifestyle. I'm figuring out what's here on my new side of town where I live since I was tucked in a little corner of my city until recently / working too many hours to really ever chill. I have to get my wisdom teeth out next week and I'm super dreading it, but overall life is way better for me. I'm so grateful for my new place, job and life. I feel way more balanced and happy to be me. Things aren't perfect, but a weight has been lifted. I love having my own space. I'm seeing someone casually who lives in my neighborhood. We've been on like 4 dates. Nothing serious, but he's good company. I've made about 1 million new friends and have lost a bit of weight since moving on. No more junk food and soda in the house to tempt me. And that was OP's last update on the matter. But what do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. Matt, just a huge thank you for being here today, getting involved in the stories, your love, your support, your time. It always means the absolute world to me. So thank you so much for being here today, getting involved with the stories. It really does mean the world. And hopefully I'm going to see you in the next one. Take care and much love.